My friends, it just keeps happening. No, but seriously, this man needs to be stopped. Perfect Ace has done it again by slaying one of the most remarkable and significant records in modern GoldenEye history, Train 00 Agent 148. He did it in an unconventional way on one of GoldenEye's hardest stages, and Ace is so good that it simply has everyone asking, what's next? The impact of this record has sent shockwaves through the GoldenEye speedrunning community, so sit back, my friends, and enjoy the story of Perfect Ace's Train 148.
Here we go!
Train 00 Agent is by far one of the hardest levels to speedrun in all of GoldenEye. You're essentially running through loaded train cars with tons of guards pummeling you at every moment, and it's easy to get hit numerous times in a matter of seconds, passing away almost instantly. It's a very frustrating stage to play, it's my least favorite level, and I'm frankly terrible at it, but other players are not. They can play Train like water flowing down a clear stream, despite guards trolling you at every moment, shooting you off your line when you try to destroy the brakes at full speed, and all sorts of other miscellaneous nonsense that occurs in a general session on Train, especially on Train 00 Agent. The most momentous moment in Train history came in February 2006, when Henrik Weister Nordgren discovered a strategy which saved about 13 seconds. You see, one of the things with Train is that once you get to the end and save Natalia from General Ormov, you need to wait a consistent set amount of time for her to go on and complete her hacking objectives. On Secret Agent, she needs to discover where Xenia and Trevelyan are headed next, and on 00 Agent, she also needs to discover Boris's password. If you leave the train at any time during the sequence, Natalia will follow you outside of the train, stopping her hacking, thus failing the objectives. You have to wait until after she's completed the objectives before leaving the train, and then running to the end of the stage where it fades out, which takes roughly 13 seconds. However, in 2006, Weister discovered that if you lasered off the locks quickly enough immediately after slaying Ormov, you could escape the train before Natalia notices you've done so. You still have to wait for her to complete the hacking objectives, but now you can wait all the way at the end of the train and time your ending to complete the objectives just as she completes them, which saves the 13 seconds it would normally take to run to the end of the train. This adds a level of difficulty to speedrunning the stage though, since on Secret and 00 Agent, before this point, you could take your sweet time to laser off the locks while Natalia was doing her thing. But now, you have to be very quick, and this adds a ton of pressure at the end of an already chaotic run. This of course doesn't affect the agent difficulty, since there are no hacking objectives there. That being said, Weister would go on to set pretty strong records of 129 on Secret Agent and 156 on 00 Agent back in 2006, after a bit of a gold rush and some optimization of this strategy. The following year, when Ace turned his sights to the train, he would lower these records a number of times, to 127 on Secret Agent and 152 on 00 Agent. And most of the rest of Train's history involves records being set and improved by Weister, Perfect Ace, and of course the one and only Mark Rutsu, whom we'll get to a little bit later. Another key thing that must be pointed out is how Train is one of the few levels in GoldenEye which seems advantage on the PAL version of the game, the European version, which runs at 25 frames per second or 50 Hz, rather than the North American NTSC version, which runs at 30 frames per second, 60 Hz. The apparent PAL advantage on Train isn't something that can be easily measured with emulator tools, since the N64 emulators are notoriously bad at replicating true console conditions and performance. But the idea is basically this. Because Train has so much going on, it's one of the game's laggiest levels where you often drop many frames, sometimes getting the game to run at 10 frames per second rather than its intended 30 for NTSC or 25 for PAL. My personal theory as to why PAL feels like it performs better in these scenarios is that, let's say the game is running heavy in a situation where you're dropping 40% of the frames. On NTSC, that means you would drop 12 frames from 30 to 18 FPS, whereas on PAL you would drop 10 frames, running at 15 from 25 FPS. The drop is less significant in total number of real frames on PAL, thus giving you a closer experience to playing the game at the intended performance on PAL. But that's just my theory, and really it's never been fully explained. But the PAL preference is apparent when history speaks for itself, as we've established that the NTSC records for train are almost always a few seconds slower than the actual world records on PAL, and this stands in direct contrast to most other stages in GoldenEye, not to mention other N64 games where PAL just straight up runs 1.2 times slower. So all that being said, when you're playing train, you definitely want to be playing PAL. However, capturing PAL video in an NTSC area can be quite a challenge. For example, you're seeing on screen now footage of me trying to capture PAL, even with modern tools like a RetroTink and HDMI capture cards. The end screen is still simply too bright, and this is on the cusp of meeting modern proof standards, if at all. And so generally speaking, there are certainly ways to capture it in decent quality, but it's difficult to find all the tools and know how to do it. And so, generally speaking, Train has been dominated by European players over the years who have had more direct access to the PAL console and an easier time capturing the video footage in good quality. So, ever since Weister's Train discovery all the way back in 2006, the stage has, with very few exceptions, only seen world records from 3 men: Perfect Ace, Mark Rutsu, and the Train master Henrik Weister Nordgren himself. Actually, if you go all the way back to 2007, there's only one exception to this, a shocking 1 minute on Agent record by True Faith back in 2010. So aside from that, only 3 men have lowered every single record on Train over the past decade and a half, and every one of them has held an untitled record sweep on the stage at various points throughout history. Let's dial in on the double agent difficulty. In 2010, Perfect Ace lowered his own untitled record of 152 to 151, which was later tied by Mark Rutsu in that same year. Mark would lower this to 150 in 2012, and he would later go on to get an untied sweep. However, Ace would tie this 150 2 years later, in summer 2014. Ace kept playing, and a few weeks later got a score of 149, which Mark would match the following year. You can see these two legends of the game exchange jabs on Train throughout the better part of a decade, always ready to match whatever new score the other would set. A pretty remarkable rivalry looking back on it now. However, it had always been known that Weister, the Train strat master himself, was always there, lurking in the shadows, only a half step behind, ready to strike. In January 2018, Weister did just that, skipping 149 to a brilliant new untitled record of 148. This was pretty insane, and many were stunned at the brilliant run on such a difficult stage. But no one was really shocked because, after all, Weister is a master player and tactician in GoldenEye, the inventor of the Train strategies, and a former top 10 player himself, who, later in his career, decided to focus mainly on optimizing the Train stage. Weister turned his attention to the Agent difficulty, where Mark Rutsu had held untitled records by himself, lowering his own untied twice, completely uncontested for the better part of 8 years. Yes, Mark's reign on Train Agent went from his time of 59 seconds on New Year's Eve 2010, through 58 in November 2011, through 57 in May 2015, all the way to April 2018, roughly 7.5 years where only Mark Rutsu held the world record on Train Agent. However, April 2018 was the time when Weister finally did match the 57-second record on April 23, 2018. Mark's 57 was considered one of the strongest records in the entire game, and it took Weister a significant grind to match the score. That being said, what Weister did next truly shocked everyone who followed the GoldenEye speedrunning community. For the next 2 years, the only level Weister really played was Train Agent, attempting to complete a new untitled record of 56 seconds. This would have required complete perfection, perhaps even beyond what most people would consider a perfect run, with the fastest locks man has ever seen. Weister racked up tons of 57 duplications, an already insane feat unto itself, given how difficult Train Agent 57 seconds is of a score, and how few people could ever come close to such a thing. But on April 13, 2020, Weister revealed that indeed, he had finally achieved his dream time, Train Agent 56. At this point in time, it seemed like a matter of destiny for Weister to fulfill, of course going for the untied world record of 122 on Secret Agent. 123 is a truly historic record unto itself, first achieved by Mark Rutsu in 2012, and it was this video where he showed off his legendary apartment tour video with a sink full of dirty dishes.
I haven't done the dishes since Patrick was here, so it's like a bit more than a month.
We can look back and laugh now, more than 10 years later, but it definitely has cemented its place in GoldenEye history as a watershed and iconic moment. So Weister wasn't just trying to get an untied world record and an untied sweep for himself, he was trying to make Mark's 123 and the subsequent 123s of Ace and himself history. And in March 2021, Weister bestowed upon myself a true honor of revealing his brand new untied world record, 122 Train Secret Agent, during an episode of Speedlore, which was a remarkable way to share the achievement with the amazed onlookers and celebrate this remarkable new record. Well, my friends, on March 4th, 2021, Henrik Norgren indeed, after many 123 duplications, went out there and got this speedrun. Truly remarkable and utterly stunning, Henrik indeed has achieved the untied world record, Train Secret Agent 122. And so this is what the rankings will look like. And so from that point on, Weister held the untied sweep of Train, a truly impressive feat. Cut to 2023, and in particular, some point after Perfect Ace's shocking revelation that he had achieved Bunker 1's Secret Agent 19. This signified something actually quite remarkable in GoldenEye history. Every single untied world record set in 2018 or earlier had been tied, except for one, Weister's Train 00 Agent 148. This had now gained the status of longest standing untied, which is always a prestigious title to hold in the game. In fact, it had now been untied for over 5 years, which is something very few records in the game's history have ever done. You know, only 4 other world records in the game's history had ever remained untied for 5 years or more, and these are 2 of Mark Rutsu's legendary Dam records, Perfect Ace's amazing Jungle Secret Agent 53, and the Bunker 2 Secret Agent 44 of Dave True Faith Clemens. So Train 00 Agent 148 truly is in that same iconic territory of perhaps the greatest world records the game has ever seen. And so with a backstory like that, one can only imagine that Perfect Ace was looking to see what he could do next, and his sights set on Train 00 Agent 148, keen to be the one to take it down a peg, slay the Untied, and once again set a historic and remarkable world record. But you see, there was a catch. Ace was unable to record PAL gameplay due to not having the proper recording equipment. So if he wanted to play, he would have to use the less favorable NTSC Japanese version of the game. Now, NTSC Japanese is generally a little bit better on Train than NTSC English, and again, the reasons for this are really not fully understood, but it's still less than the optimal version playing Train on PAL, which ideally you would like, especially when going for a world record. Even so, Ace believed with his skill that perhaps it was possible to tie 148 even on the less advantaged version of the game, and so his grind began. Ace relatively quickly got numerous runs which were 149, something that he himself had done as the untitled record back in 2014 and was his personal record on the stage, though he got his first one while playing PAL, and now these new ones 9 years later were done on NTSC Japanese. When you take a step back from that, it's kind of remarkable. You know, how many people can still perform a high-skill task, a world-class high-skill task that they were able to do 9 years ago? For many people, their primes in their athletic or gaming ability come and go. They peak and descend, but Perfect Ace has always been able to find his way back up to the very top, no matter when and where he plays. And so after 5 duplications of trained Double Agent 149 over the course of roughly 1 week in late May and early June 2023, in the early hours of June 4th, Perfect Ace got this speedrun. My friends, it is truly remarkable. The game's longest standing untied had been slain. Perfect Ace, trained Double Agent 148. You made that look like Agent Ace. Incredible run. My fiancé said maybe they sped the video up. Laughing, crying emoji. A testament to your speedrunning prowess, my friend. Well played. How you managed to not take much damage through all those cars is insane. Took 5 years for someone to tie this record. Of course it's Ace doing it. That's 1:11:00, 1 second from barrier. What level will he smash the minute barrier on now? Ace's total time now sits at 1:11 flat, just needing 1 more second to cut to enter the historic 1:10 range. Something that people thought was not only impossible for a single player to reach, but perhaps impossible for the game as a whole not too many years ago. Surely Ace can find 1 second to cut somewhere. I mean, it's not a matter of if, but when. Train Agent and Secret Agent are fine candidates. I'm sure he would love to get those, as would be Aztec Double Agent Untied World Record. This would be a once-in-a-lifetime milestone that perhaps no other player will ever reach, and a true celebration of Ace's mastery of GoldenEye. Another notable consequence of Ace tying trained Double Agent 148 is that we have a new longest standing untied, the Bunker 1 Double Agent 101 by Dave Truefaith Clemens, which was set in April 2019. This record uses an extremely complex strategy where you have to alert Boris, then leave the range at which he speaks to you in hopes he'll run off towards the mainframe room to complete his hacking objective. This is pretty rare, and the direction he runs can be quite random, and you need so many other things to go right in order to complete a fast run. But that being said, Truefaith's record of 102 on the stage from 2011 was a sort of iconic untied record in its own right, and that one only lasted for about 2.5 years before Ace tied it. Truefaith's 101 has now been untied for more than 4 years, so will we see history repeat itself? Will Ace be the one to slay this one too? Or might the reign of Bunker 1 Double Agent 101 only be beginning as a future record-breaking, long-lasting untied? Could this record make it to 5 years, becoming only the 6th record to do so, or could it go even further? Whatever the case may be, truly remarkable events are unfolding in GoldenEye speedrunning, and will certainly continue to unfold in GoldenEye speedrunning. One might even go as far to say, my friends, it just keeps happening. And if you want to see what happens next, be sure to hit that subscribe button with notifications on so you never miss a new video. And if you'd like to support my work even more, you can check out Speedlore on Patreon for updates on the Speedlore series and occasional exclusive content. With all that being said, thanks for watching, my friends, stay true, and I'll see you in the next stream or video.